ಅದೊಂದೇನ ಇರೋದ್ ಬೋನ್ಸ್.
Brief memory of what happened so that we can catch up with that background. So when Jesus came back from his disappeared state of so many years, he was walking along the Galilee River, and he was teaching many people what was happening. And that was for just 3 years after he came back and he himself was baptized. Now, once he started teaching, in the East, people will come from all over the countries. Whoever hears there is a holy man talking, they would come. That is it is a characteristic of the East. So people came from everywhere, and he taught the multitudes, the people, the ordinary people, the lay people, according to their capacity. But the priests, the scholars, and the upper class Jews rejected him, would not allow him to have classes for disciples. The reason is this, that the Romans had entered a pact with the Jewish priests that you see that there is no civil uprising. You see that everything is quiet, and we will let you do your prayers and whatever you want in your own right. And at that time, they had this understanding that a Messiah would come and that Messiah would liberate them from the tyrannies that they had gone through. Many of the people were very poor also. And they would go to the temples, and the priests there, the Jewish priests, would tell them what they ought to do, and they would give the dakshina that way. So the Jewish priests were comfortably off, but the people did not have enough. So what happened was, when Jesus came, he had spent some 15, 16 years in training. Basically, he was training to have chitta shuddhi so that he could be receptive to the greater message and spread this message, for which you do need chitta shuddhi. So when he came back, he said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Now, this made the priests, the Jewish priests, very disturbed, because they had a fair control over the masses when they told the masses that, look, heaven is there, such and such a place, and there is the God is there, Yahweh is there, and you have to come through us because we know how to reach there. So, and people have made mistakes. You have to do this parihara, prayashchitta, just like we hear all the time anywhere. They were not bad. They were not bad intentioned, and they were not. It's not as though they were necessarily doing any harm. From their point of view, that is how they thought that they could have a control and not fall into trouble with the Roman kingship, Caesar. So what happened was that they got anxious, because once you say the kingdom of heaven is within you, then the people are not looking around and bothered about priests or the Caesar or anybody. They are going to do their own meditations. So the importance of the priests will go down, and they were afraid of being uprooted by the monarchy at that time. So they were not very happy with Jesus going around talking. Besides, what he talked every now and then seemed traditionally wrong to the Jewish community. For example, when a man and a woman were walking on the road, if the woman, even if she was a wife, she had to walk a few paces behind her husband. They would never have a conversation in public. And here was Jesus walking with women, some of them prostitutes, some of them householders, and he was teaching them something that he was Jewish, remember. So the Jewish women were not allowed to read or learn the scripture. The Jewish understanding also was that an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But Jesus said, no, if somebody slaps you on one cheek, show the other cheek. Now, all this was not at all according to them. So from their point of view, they thought maybe He's not being traditional. He's coming and breaking tradition. And always when you break tradition, the community or the society that is hanging on to the tradition um, as a need to be with the divine will start getting threatened. And that is why you will find that most mystics will be threatened, because they break the limits of everything, including the tradition. We must remember that tradition is created by society for various needs. And sometimes the need is to keep the flock together. But God's truth, if you believe in God's truth, the truth itself will keep who is necessary. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, we say, no? So the truth alone will take care of it. But we get anxious, and in our apprehension, we think we have to protect something, the tradition, in case it gets diluted or lost or destroyed. That comes from our anxiety, because the truth can never ever be destroyed. That's why we have in India this the country, the saying, it's almost like a logo of the country on the near the along with the flag, Satyameva Jayate. Truth alone wins. But we are not always very clear what the truth is. And sometimes when it wins, it goes against our personal preference. And so as a um, group of people, human beings in general, especially when you are not willing to open your heart out to something greater, because we are afraid that we will lose what we have, we will destroy what we have. That is the finite mind, its logic, its reasoning, which has been with us and helped us come up so much in life, our family structure. And we think that if these things are disturbed, then we are going to break down. That is what Arjuna tells Krishna also in the battlefield. He'll say, Krishna, why are we trying to fight with the Kauravas? Because once the Kauravas are fought with, the men will be, a lot of men will die, the women will be left without men to take care of them. There will be mixed marriages, there will be problems. And then with all this, the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, will be disturbed. Then Krishna tells him, he says, buddy, you don't really understand what is Sanatana Dharma. I am the Sanatana Dharma. The truth is the Sanatana Dharma. Just as Jesus says, if you know the truth will set you free. The truth belongs to the divine. So when people are afraid that their identity is going to be damaged, because we live by our identities, and our identities depend upon our personal desires by and large. So when we feel that the identity is going to be disturbed, we will see the person who's disturbing it as the enemy in the camp. So these Jewish priests did not, the scholars did not, the upper class Jews did not want him, because they say, who's this man coming out of nowhere? And then if he was really a person who followed the Jewish Dharma, he ought to be supporting us. He can't say something which is not in tune with the religion. They put him to many tests, and they couldn't defeat him. But however, that was the way it was. So he took all the people, the lay people, he took them to a hilltop, and there he gave a sermon. And when he gave the sermon, he first the people came, the common people came in a multitude, and he spoke to them. Then he knew that the masses would not necessarily understand the higher aspects of prayer that he was going to teach his disciples, because he wanted them to have chitta shuddhi and take the message out. So he called his disciples to higher areas of the hill, while the masses were sitting downstairs. They came, they listened to his satsang, and they were just sitting there like a picnic sort of. And having done all this, then Jesus talks to the people about what are the qualities they need. Last time we went through this, and I told you how close it is and how much it is the yamas. which we'll just go quickly through. But then you have to understand there are two basic types of prayer, and different individuals use these two different ones. One is the man-centered prayer, and the second is the God-centered prayer. When we pray, when a prayer is man-centered, what we do is we are beseeching God to enrich our life on earth, where we are here to remove our sufferings, to give us wealth, success, comfort. Our children should not have problems. These are the things we pray. When you talk of God-centered prayer, then it is motivated by spiritual discrimination and devotion. People whose prayers are God-centered seek Him alone, knowing that God realization is the whole purpose of life, because that is the only thing that is permanent. The truth is permanent because it was there yesterday, it's here today, it will be there tomorrow. But everything else is short-lived and transient. So even if you get the best of what you want, after some time it's going to go away. Nobody is going to be in power all their lives. Nobody is going to be scholarly all their lives. Nobody is going to be wealthy all their lives. And if we didn't learn a lesson till now, at least the COVID would have taught us this. And nobody is going to live forever and ever, whether you're young or old or whatever. So what the Jesus taught, what was referred to as the Lord's Prayer. And the Lord's Prayer is God-centered. And in it, Jesus teaches anyone, not just the disciples, not just his disciples, how to become absorbed in the consciousness of God and to find eternal joy and freedom. So anybody who chooses um, to reach God, approaches God here, this is how he teaches them with the Lord's Prayer. Nobody needs to subscribe to any religion, any creed, any dogma, any ideology, any tradition. Anybody can say this, the Lord's Prayer, beginning with Our Father. And in the same way that all mystics of all traditions have spoken about the prayer, the different prayers, they're all talking of the same thing. So when we come to the going quickly through the blessings, the Beatitudes, what you need to become a disciple before you can say your prayers. So he says, you have to be poor in spirit, which means you have to be humble. And then you have to mourn because you are spiritually bankrupt. You might have the whole world at your feet, but when the final day comes, can you take a pie with you? You see, we come with the empty hands and we go with empty hands. So the quality of Satyam and Asteyam comes here. Look at life as it is and not the way you expect it to be, or you dream that it should be like, or that you think it is going to be this way because I want it. It's simple things. I have a house renovation going on, and I tell the tile man, put the tiles properly because it's leaking. Then the man says, no, no, don't worry. I'll put it proper. He does something, he comes back, and I pour water and it leaks. Then I ask him, look, you said you've repaired it and it is still leaking. No, no, it'll be okay. Now, this is very typical in India. Everybody will tell you, it'll be okay, nothing to worry. Till the last moment, when you know that if something is not attended to meticulously, you are going to worry. But people feel that if you say something that you wish to happen, nature and everything in life will obey you and go that way. So here he is saying, poor in spirit, be humble. We don't know what everything is about. We know so little. We don't even know who we are. Then, because we don't know who we are, we make our mistakes. And making our mistakes is, at some point, you'll realize, my goodness, I've made so many mistakes. How will I ever go ahead in my life? And you mourn the spiritual bankruptcy that you have created. Then you're meek. When you're meek, you're looking at the truth. You're saying, I'm a beggar because I have nothing. I come with nothing. I go with nothing. That is what the Ishavasya Upanishad also says. That Ishavasyam midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything that is here belongs to the divine. It doesn't belong to you. If you've got some money, you've become wealthy. It doesn't mean you can eat, 100 rotis on a day. Or supposing you like gulab jamuns, you can't eat 200 gulab jamuns to eat up all your money. You can't do that. There's only a certain limit that your body and mind can take. So what happens to the rest? That rest is of money is given to us as custodians so that we will keep it for the person to whom it is meant to go. So nothing belongs to us. If you have a lot of money in your bank also, you keep what you want for yourself. The rest is so that you're a trustee for the rest of the universe. Then you have to be merciful, he says. But what does he mean by merciful? That we don't always feel good towards people we don't like. We are sometimes envious. Most often we are envious when we have other people getting what we would have liked to get. So for this, you have Pratipaksha Bhavana, the practice having the opposite emotion. If you feel envious, feel happy, make it happen like a meditation. And Abhyasa. You have to do a lot of this Abhyasa again and again and again because we have been, what would you call it? We have been conditioned and conditioned and conditioned to look at life in a particular way, as if we need to be there for everything to happen. We need the resources, and without resources, we'll fall down. So we have to get those resources by hook or by crook. Somewhere you have it, you're saved. But nobody is saved when the last minute comes, no? Whatever resources you have. So then the next thing is the brahmacharyam. Brahmacharya here means a chitta shuddhi, that you are not um, drawn away by the old conditionings. So you'll see in the life of Arjuna, for example, Arjuna was so brave that he went and he was able to kill demons to help the gods, the higher energies. He even went and did penance and got the Pasupata Astra from Shiva. That was Shiva's personal weapon. He got it. He was such a brave warrior, so skilled, meticulous. His guru knew that if Arjuna was there, there's no need to fear. All this was there, but when he reached the battlefield, what happened? Suddenly, his jnanendriyas dropped. He lost control over his jnanendriyas, his intelligence, his looking at things with the clear perception, because he was conditioned by other things, my family, my people. How will I do it? Even now, you see, many people will say, I've got a wedding in the house, so I cannot, I'm so busy because of the wedding, I could not do my daily japa, which will hardly take us about 15 minutes in a day. 24 hours are there. But we'll say, oh, I was so busy, I could not do this. Things like that. So the chitta shuddhi, and the society has said it's okay if you're busy with a wedding, if you're busy with business, if you're busy with your child's education, it's okay. Don't, if you don't give God 10 minutes, why should it matter? Because He's there anyway. So, we give ourselves all sorts of logical reasons to handle this little discipline that we need to have. And that is how Arjuna suddenly became, he had an existential fear because his Jnanendriyas didn't stand by him at the last minute. Why? Because he hadn't practiced enough. And at the same time, if you see Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra was a tremendous sage to whom the Gayatri mantra itself was given. He was the seer of the Gayatri mantra. A king who became um, a sage, a tremendous sage, was practiced for thousands of years practicing. And then suddenly he falls all the way down because his karmendiyas were not under his control. A beautiful lady comes into his consciousness and everything goes for a toss. So why I'm saying is that these things are not easy and simple. You can't say, oh, I can handle it. We need the grace of God to handle these things. Then aparigraha, not taking what belongs to somebody. So when you're saying not taking, you might say, I'm working, I worked so hard, it belongs to me. How does it belong to somebody else? The Shastra will tell us that we have been given a certain number of breaths for a certain warranty of a certain lifetime. Any extra breath you take, you're stealing from somebody else. Now, supposing you insist on driving a car that is going to pollute the environment, or you're going to go beyond the rules of environment, cut up all the trees around so that you can put a nice big palace and stay in it, you're interfering with the environment. And what we are doing is that because we want something nice for ourselves, we are robbing from the air that other people need to breathe. So it's very, very subtle. You have to see what is given to me to enjoy myself and what belongs to somebody else in a very subtle way. It's not just money and it's not earning. That's very, very superficial. And looking for that is a man centered prayer. When you're looking for a God centered prayer, Jesus is talking to those disciples to whom he has said, and they have learned also, that seek first the kingdom of God. Everything else will come after it. Even our guru says that, even our um, the Shastra say it, even in the Islamic tradition it says it, in the Christian tradition, even Jewish tradition says it, but people have misinterpreted at various times in the geopolitical history of the universe. But what everybody says is he is the truth. Go to him, go to the king. Don't go and beg from the minister or the sipai or the woman who is standing guarding the zanana. Go straight to the king. Go to the king. That is the divine, the supreme being. Go to God. He knows what you need, and he will give it to you at your particular time. So this is a picture of Jesus talking to his disciples. Down below there will be the multitudes. The ones that are highlighted are his disciples. So that is the thing. And then ahimsa is the last thing he says, because who is within me is within you also. Who is within me is inside what I call my enemy also. Who is within me is inside even the person I think is a perverted being. So when I see the divine in every person, then I realize that maybe he has a reason for what he is doing. Maybe something has not been learned by the collective consciousness, and this is happening so that we learn and refine our humanness. So he says, even in a crisis of persecution, trust in the name of God. Swami Satyananda says, even when somebody closest and nearest to you, most intimate person, lets you down, because it can happen in human life, even if they betray you, do not lose your faith in the Supreme. And that's very, very important for a disciple, because if you lose that faith, you cannot continue on the spiritual path. You have to have faith. And about faith, I'll talk a little later. But when you meditate on the divine, abhyasa, again and again and again, you become divine. You get the kalyana gunas, or the um, auspicious qualities of the divine. So this is how the prayer is. So sometimes you say the same prayer. People say you say the same prayer all the time, again and again and again. Can't you do something else? No, we always want to make something more interesting, new for the people, because they say we've been doing the same asana so many years, same pranayama so many years. Because we are doing it, what do you call it? Mechanically, we get bored. If we looked at it and learned from ourselves, from our own bodies, our own hearts, what is happening, then you will see that even one practice done many, many times is an adventure into the soul. That is why people read the same Ramayana all their lives again and again and again, Bible again and again and again, the Quran again and again and again. Why? Because each time you read it, something will enter you, because those are all vibrations. Now, you have one time there was a guru who used to tell, maybe it was Ramakrishna, I don't remember. You have the grace of God, he told the disciple. You have the grace of the Guru. You have the grace of Guru's devotees. Only one thing is needed. That is the grace of your own mind. Your mind has to give you grace in the sense of it has to have the will, the sankalpa shakti to struggle to go to any extent to reach your own spiritual source. That has to be only your mind can do it. Somebody can give you grace, somebody can help you, somebody can guide you, but walking the path only you can do, and only you um, need to do it. So you will find that when you take on that sankalpa, and no matter what, we make out mistakes, all of us make mistakes. There's nobody who's perfect except the divine. So instead of wasting time saying, oh, I made this mistake, what a bad person I am, how useless I am, and instead of going into a demoralized attitude of feeling a loss in self-confidence, which is an act of the ego. Please remember this. The ego makes you feel small so that you feel, I cannot go anywhere near spirituality. How will I? Only sages and saints can reach God. After all, who am I? I am nobody, nothing. That nothingness becomes an ego trick also. Nothingness and knowing that God is everything is different from knowing I am nothing and therefore I cannot reach God. So what happens is that the that is a faith you have to have within yourself. If he is within me because I love him so much, the divine, he will not let me down. He will be with me at every step of the way. Once you have that complete faith there, then the you will get guided along the way. You need have no fear about this. That's a fact. Because a master or a guru teaches, because he has reached a particular point, he teaches not only verbally, but by actual transmission of vibration. So I think I must have said it the other day. I don't know if I said it to your group that you can go to the divine and to your guru, and the guru might talk about this and that, about the weather today. Do you think the who is going to win in this time in West Bengal? Do you feel that the ashram is okay? Can you give me your inputs on this? All these conversations will happen. But actually, the Guru himself is not in the least bit bothered about all that. He is just using what we are usually talking about, the things that are familiar to us, to send us vibrations through the words. So if you don't bother about why, sometimes you'll say, why is he talking about politics? I thought he was a very holy man. Why is he talking about the latest things like this? But we don't realize that he is saying something and we are saying something else. So when you have that faith, it doesn't matter what he says, but he is giving you the vibrations. And only those who are ready to accept the vibrations, in whatever way it comes, it can come as a scolding, it can come as a seeming indifference, it can come as a rejection. We don't know how God will express himself through the Guru, but we have to know have faith in the truth. You see, they say that when Parashurama went to look for his Guru, Dattatreya, he found Dattatreya sitting, lolling around, looking dirty, unkempt, drinking, completely sozzled with a girl on his lap. And he thought to himself, this is a guru, this is my guru. I have accepted this person as my guru. Now, if this is how he is behaving, agree that it is not what he taught me. This is not what the dharma is. But there must be some reason. You give the guru the benefit of doubt. There must be some lesson that he is trying to reach to me. And that lesson I have to learn. So when other people walk away, Parashurama sits there. And the guru continues laughing all the while like he is, a little mad or something like that. And then when Parashurama doesn't move, the guru says, so what are you waiting for? And he says, you are my guru. I've come to you. I have taken you as my guru. And these things don't seem sensible to me, but I know that You must be doing this for something that I need to learn. And so Dattatreya then teaches him the entire Devi, um, Devi Aradhana, the whole lessons about Shakta Tantric philosophy, and which has come as a book called Datta Samhita. Now, because the Guru realizes that this man has come for learning about the truth, he has not come to watch how the Guru is behaving, whether he is wearing a suit or a long garment, or whether he is wearing a geru dhoti, whether he is talking to, Ratan Tata, or whether he is talking to Narendra Modi or Biden, because many people will say this, my Guru went and Abdul Kalam was talking to him. Yes, he talks, but that is not the purpose of the Guru's talking. So when the Guru knows, the disciple comes there not to assess or analyze how great or how special the Guru is, but he is coming to learn the truth. Then such a Guru will give you the blessing, and that blessing will be a vibrational transmission in addition to other support systems that he will create around you. For example, you'll have a group of people who will stand by you and support you, like our groups here. These groups were not there before the COVID. They were separate. Now it's all together. Why is this important on the spiritual path? Because when a person who is not illumined, an unillumined person, when that person tries teaching, the unripe ego of the student can misinterpret, and the spiritual journey can degenerate, because just book learning will not be enough. So that is a very important thing to understand. If your heart is purified, then you will know everything, even if you don't study. But if we study the scripture, we are scholars, we have done a PhD in theology, history, we may give extremely good talks, yet we can be ignorant of spiritual life. That is very important. That is why you will find Meera's Guru was a cobbler. The Gopikas were milkmaids. Jesus had disciples who were fishermen, tax collectors, people like this. He didn't have holy looking people walking with him. So, first of all, the truth, St. John says, in the beginning was the Lord, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. So you have to see, what is this word? Word is a vibration, and the Vedas say almost identical. In the beginning, they say was Parabrahman, and second to him was the word. That is the vibration, the nada, bindu. This word was verily Brahman. This is Akshara Brahman. Brahman conditioned by Maya, his own special power, manifests as the external undifferentiated word, the nada, which involves into mantra. And the mantra is incarnated as beings in different bodies. So, in a special sense, the word is the Bija mantra of the divine that takes on the mission of the divine to carry on life for the particular purpose. Until we know that purpose and go towards it, we will not finish living. So we come back again and again because we haven't understood. So Jesus will say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father but by me. Krishna will say, I am the end of the path, the witness and sustainer. Fools pass blindly by the place of my dwelling here in the human form, and of my majesty they know nothing at all. You see, so this is what they are telling you when they say, I am the life, I am the way. They are not talking as Jesus or as Krishna. They are talking of the higher ego. And Buddha will say, you are my children, I am your father. I myself, having attained salvation as a savior, myself has become the truth. Mansoor will say, Aham Brahmasmi Anal Haq, I am the divine. So the all mystics will tell you, love your enemies. Why? Because inside that body that you call your enemy is God. Now just look at this. What if they are poor or they are gay or another culture or another religion, different from you? Would you love them? You have to ask yourself. When they are saying, did I stutter? It is as if Jesus is saying, didn't you understand what I told you in the beginning? What is your problem that you didn't understand? So Jesus will go up to the um, mountain top and he'll take his 12 disciples, of which James, John, and Simon, who becomes Peter, they are the three ones who have opened their hearts out, and he will talk to them from the heart. When he before he says the prayer, he will tell them, "Look, I have experienced this divine, and I have come here, but it is the divine desire that I will be crucified, because for dharma to last, I have to sacrifice myself, and I will be sacrificed." Now the disciples get scared because they are thinking, here we are, we followed this man all the way and he spoke the truth and he was truthful and we love him now. There is an intimacy between us. And but um, suddenly he says somebody is going to crucify him, then what happens to us? That logical mind comes in, you see, and he realizes that the logical mind will damage their spiritual path, because they are going to be the teachers of tomorrow. And this I'm saying it specifically because so many of you are teachers of yoga, and you have to carry this message that some of you will not get what you want, some of you will get something opposite to what you want also, but we are here for a certain purpose as instruments of the divine, and that is our reason for living. So what happens, he realized that they would not feel inspired unless they saw a higher truth. So suddenly he allowed them to see the higher aspect of him. You see in this picture, you see Jesus standing there. This is a painting, of course, but you'll have Jesus standing there with the angels above, one or two prophets standing by his side, and he is completely, not in this painting, but otherwise, he's completely full of light. Because when a mystic goes, becomes self-realized or becomes one with the divine, then the light of the divine will shine through that person, and people around will be spellbound, because something in you will reach out. You know, this is the truth. There is something very special here that is happening. So this it is called an epiphany. This is the other epiphany. I told you in the beginning how when he was baptized, John saw him filled with light, and this sort of like um, gave his disciples the confidence to go ahead, and later, even though they left him and ran away when he was crucified, most of them, later on they allowed themselves to come back, and for the sake of teaching the truth, some of them gave up their lives, some of them had terrible times, and then they lived quietly somewhere and continued teaching. So that is the thing you have to remember, because Krishna says, not now, I taught Surya Bhagavan in the beginning of creation. And Arjuna thinks to himself, how can he teach Surya Bhagavan? We are just now together. He was not there at that time. And Jesus will say, before Abraham was, I am. This is the meaning of the child that you see in front. When a person reaches a height and the divine enters that being to spread a certain message of dharma, of satyam, then the mother of that child, whoever it is blessed. Generations before and after are blessed, we say. Why? Because she doesn't know what the child is born for, but she knows it's for God's work. What do we want our children study, get good marks, go to USA? make dollars, help your sisters and brothers, or become a minister or something, or be a doctor and help people. But how many parents will say, as Shankara's mother said, "Here is my child, take him for your work." Swami Niranjan's mother said that also, Dharma Shakti. "Here is my child, take him, Swamiji." And she gave the child over to Swamiji at 4 years. How could she do it? Because she knew, she had faith in the Guru, and she knew there was something that was there that Swami Niranjan had to do, and she was not going to be possessive about him or so attached that she would interfere with his destiny, the divine destiny. So think of it as the mother. That is why even in sannyas never bows to anybody at all, because he has gone beyond that level. Yes, finished his life as a son, as a husband, as whatever it is, and then moves on into to a different dimension. But in the Indian tradition, when a mother comes, the sannyasin, whoever it is, even if it is a Shankaracharya, will bow to her, because to him she symbolizes the female power of Shakti, the mother who bore him into the world so that he could get these vibrations, so that he could raise his consciousness, go towards the divine, so that when he is realized, he can bring the divine back to the multitudes. So, having said this, let us go to the prayer itself. So, this is what he says after telling them you need all this. He is emphasizing Bhakti Yoga basically, because it is, and you have to remember one thing about Bhakti Yoga. All mystics talk about Bhakti Yoga, devotion to the divine. Now, many people are afraid of Bhakti Yoga, or they use it as a weapon in their families, because they say they feel that um, you have to renounce your human affections. That is, I don't have to love my wife, I don't have to love my children, I don't have to love my neighbor. I just leave everything and go away. I won't be able to do it. So, spiritual life is not for me. But that is not what he is saying. What all mystics say is the natural tendency in a person, Jivatma, and in life, animals, trees, birds, everything is to love, not to hate. Have you ever seen a tree that hates? Have you ever seen any animal that hates another animal? It might fight for food, for resources, but it won't hate it. Only we, as a human being, because of the brain that has been brainwashed so many times, have the tendency to hate. But when the hatred goes away, then the reflections of divine love will flow into us. So, how does it become spiritualized? You might just have lust to start with, or you might have uh, attraction, infatuation, anything, but you can spiritualize it. How? When it is given unselfishly, that love, without possessiveness, without bargaining. When you're able to give food to somebody, for example, in the Upanishads, they'll say, um, you have to eat pure food, and if you eat pure food, then your chitta is shuddha, is pure. Now, many people think pure food means, a vegan way of life or a vegetarian way of life, or something that is cleaned very well, hygienic. All that is okay. Those are your preferences. What is the food that is pure? The food that is pure is that which is received by your sense organs in a pure manner. When you look at a food and you screw up your nose, thinking, I don't like the taste of that, you lost out on purity. When the food is given to you, because nobody has earned the food, it comes to you from the divine. When you are eating, then look at that food with love. That is why we have grace, we have Annapurna Stotram, all that. Look at it with love and say, please help this body that is eating this food to be of use to the creatures, the other creatures that have been created everywhere around me. So let the food you eat be useful, not just to make you fit and good looking, but so that you will be able to reach out and be useful to the creation that he has created in which he lives. So when you give something um, with practicing yama and niyama, and you associate everything with food, because even food is the divine. That is why they say Annam Brahma. That is, rice or the food is the divine, because there's nothing in which the divine is not there. So this food, you love that food, whatever it is, and you put it in your mouth and you say to that food, nourish me so that this body will be of use to somebody else. And don't think about negative things when you're eating. All this will help purify the attitudes of our mind. So this is the prayer that you will see, the Lord's Prayer. It's very simple when you read it, but it's very, very profound. If you're a sadhaka, you'll see the deeper significance. So you look at this now, the man-centered and God-centered prayer. And now the first thing is, when we pray to God, just let me read this out and then word by word I'll tell you what it means. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them. It's written, debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. So let us see what he's actually talking about. There are um, thousands, millions of Christians who will say this prayer. There are millions of Hindus who will say similar prayers. There are millions of Muslims who will also say prayers. But let us understand what this prayer is all about. You see, our finite minds can never understand the infinite. Even if we think of eternity, it is something about time that we know. Time is a form. So we need to have something different, a definite relationship, which is not abstract, to be intimate. You can't say be intimate with the fire. You can't say be intimate with the wind, be intimate with the water. How can you feel that? But if you think of the Ganga as the mother, she is nurturing all of us, then the mother that you see in her will help her to become intimate to you. So all um, mystics say that you have to have a definite relationship, which is absolutely necessary. So in Bhakti Yoga, you can see the creator as the Lord and you as a creation, or the Lord as master, you are as a servant, Dasya Bhava, or as a parent and child relationship, Vatsalya, a friend and a very close friend who will stand up for each other no matter what, Sakya, husband and wife relationship, Kanta, a beloved beyond any other rules and regulations. This is called Madhurya Bhava. Bhakti Yoga is like this. You have to have a personal and intimate relationship with the divine. And so we have the practice of an Ishtadevata. Because when an Ishtadevata is there, you can, by your intimacy with the Ishtadevata, with Abhyasa, slowly, slowly reach a stage where the divine takes the form of your Ishtadevata. So on one occasion, Jesus says, you are my friends if you do whatever I command you. From now on, because somebody said, I'm your servant, Lord, he said, from now on, I'm not going to call you servants, I've called you my friends. And that is what Krishna tells Arjuna also. And that is what Hanuman feels when he comes to Sita with the message from Rama. He says, I'm a messenger. I mean, I'm a postman, that's all I am. But when he is returning with her grace, he sees the divine in everything around. He understands the whole purpose of the Ramavatara. And he says, I am Rama's servant. In other words, Like St. Francis says, make me an instrument of your will. I'm a nimitta matram. So it begins with our Father. Now, what does this our Father means? It is a call of reverence. When you have a father and a mother, by and large in society, one learns to grow up thinking, my daddy has the best car. If I'm in difficulty, my daddy will come and protect me from those people who are trying to hurt me. You will see little children in school saying, my daddy is the best, my father is the best. We have got this, we have got that. My father can even fight with the uh, enemy countries that come. There's nothing my father cannot do. So, when you call God as our Father, there is an element of reverence. And with that reverence comes trust and an absolute confidence and love. And you know you are protected and you're safe. Now, the thing is, therefore, how do you call our Father? You don't say, our Father who art in heaven, our Father who art in heaven. No, no point saying it with the tongue. You have to call him from your heart, not with your mind. Just for about a minute, let's take time off and do one little practice. Try to call your Ishta Devata or your Guru the way you usually do when you do your puja. Call him with your mind. See how long it takes for you to get the image of the divine in your mind. And see the time. And is he steady when he comes to the mind? Are you able to hold on for more than 2 or 3 minutes the image? Now go to your heart. Call him from your heart. Heart is not emotion, heart is not sentiment. Heart is your chitta. How do you call God from your heart? Place your finger at your sternum, lower part of the sternum, and with intensity call out, my Lord. Like Yashoda called out to Krishna, Krishna, she called. She didn't say, hey, Krishna, come here. Krishna, she calls, and he opens his mouth and she sees the whole world inside. Call that way, like you would call your child, whoever you are intimate with. Call from there. Keep your finger at the bottom of the sternum and see whether you get the image of your Ishta Devata and how long it takes for that image to come in, as against how long it takes for your mind. Most of you will see, and you can discuss it later, most of you will see that it comes easier to the heart than it will come to the mind, because the mind has doubts, the mind has um, dilemmas, confusion, all which is part of ashuddhi of the chitta. When the chitta is shuddha, you call the divine and the divine will come. I promise you this happens. The divine will come. You will see the image of the divine in your heart. And once it comes to the heart, it has a very special quality. It makes all your negativity into positivity, or it flushes away what is negative. After the Lord sits in your heart, whether it's your Guru, your Ishta Devata, whatever is your Lord, your beloved Lord, after he sits in your heart, he will not move from there. He won't go away. He will be there and he'll take over what you need to do and he'll be doing it for you. You may say, by God's grace, by Guru's grace, this wedding went off well. And we sometimes say it as just as a way of talking, but you will see the real thing happening and you'll say, oh my God, I couldn't have done this on my own. And you'll know he has taken over. We had this sort of faith, but with a few years of indoctrination in various areas, and then poverty that was thrust upon us, and then the industrial revolution and the academic mind and the brain expanding, we lost that closeness to nature and to ourselves. So we've got to get it back now. So the second one, our Father, where you have absolute confidence. Then what do you call him? Who art in heaven. Where is heaven? Jesus will say, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Don't say he's here, he's there, he's up there, he's down here, he's inside the church, he's inside the temple, he's inside the puja room. No, he's sitting in your heart and he's always there. Every Upanishad will say that. So you're calling this person from your heart who is already sitting in the heart and waiting. He's saying, call me, I'll come. So the heaven is not a spatial existence, it's beyond space. To be in heaven means to realize God in our own consciousness. Because if we don't have that, when we look within, we don't see heaven. Why don't we see heaven? Because earth is also within us. That is avidya. We see only the earth or people that we know with form, structure, the way they behave with us, the way we react with them. So even if God stands in front of us, we don't see it. That is why Arjuna is called in the Bhagavad Gita Partha. Partha means belonging to Prithvi. Prithvi comes from the word Parthiv, which means dust. And we are made of dust with the Karmendriya, with the Panchamahabhutas, and the Panchamahabhutas go back into dust. The soul carries on. But we haven't seen the soul because the chitta is looking only for what we can see by the indriyas, understand or perceive with the jnanendriyas, go towards and make a relationship with the karmendriyas. We are not looking through our soul. So what does Jesus do for his disciples? He gives them an epiphany where they see him in light. What does Krishna do with Arjuna? He gives him the Divya Chakshuhu. That is the divine eye, what you call the third eye, which is a different sort of perception. It is not that you open up your eye in the Bhrumadhya and then you see different. No, they're talking of a certain vibration of the Agnya Chakra, the intensity which helps you to move towards the divine. So that is the who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. What is the meaning of hallowed? Hallowed means the name of God. You say it again and again and again, it becomes sacred because you're searching for that which is sacred. You're making it sacred by calling the name. So remember in Shivaratri, what did people do? Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You didn't say Om Beer Namaha. You didn't say Om Infosys Namaha or Om your wife's name Namaha. You said Om Namah Shivaya. Why? Because that is how these sages have told us about in different regions, that you call the name of God that is pertinent to that particular culture that in which the mystic lived. You say Allahu Akbar. You don't say Humayun Hu Akbar. You don't say that. You don't say Babar Hu Akbar. You're saying Allahu Akbar. That is, the divine is great. So when there is in us, in the human intelligence and in everything, a certain genetic coming, because we have been made out of the life force of the divine. So we are divine and there is divinity within us. And when you say, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he'll give it to you, Jesus said. And Jesus says, and Krishna says that also in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I am of the Bija mantras, I am Omkar, I am the Pranava. That is, hallowed be thy name. The name of God is not Jesus, Krishna, Rama. That also can be if you use it as a mantra. But the name of God is that particular vibration that comes to you when you repeat your Guru mantra or your prayer. You can call him as Jesus, you can call him as Allah, you can call him Krishna, you can call him anything you want, but you repeat it again and again with that feeling of sacredness within you. Then the vibrations of the sounds that make up your mantra become a part of yourself. It saturates your body. So sometimes she is called, that mantra is called Taraka mantra. the power of the word, which helps in crossing into higher dimensions of consciousness. The difference will depend on the particular aspect of God that you choose. So the Guru gives the disciple of Mantra Diksha and says, keep it sacred to meditate till the end of life. What does it mean, keeping it sacred? That you don't throw it around. You don't make a mockery of it. You don't use it as a political statement. I'm only talking of the Guru Mantra. Doesn't mean you can't say Jesus or Ram or anything in public. No, only the mantra that you get. Supposing you're using the Lord's Prayer, or you're using Hail Mary, or you're using the Dattatreya mantra, whatever the mantra that is given to you by the Guru, then that mantra Diksha is kept sacred and secret. So you don't discuss it or throw it in the marketplace. So when you go on doing it, that mantra becomes more and more sacred again and again and again. That mantra becomes hallowed. And that is that sacredness is concentrated as sound. We let God take possession of our consciousness and the mind until it becomes constant. So this is hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Where is the kingdom? The kingdom is within you. It has already come. It's not in the future and it's not after death. Prapatti means even if you are ignorant of a higher state of consciousness, you're nowhere there, you can still realize that you're not in charge and there is some other higher power that is in charge. And you tell this higher power that, look, I'm giving myself to you. You do what is necessary for me. I will trust you. And when you have the trust, you don't fight with anything in life. You don't have negativity. Negativity is a fight against life. When you're fighting, then another vibration will come and have this fight with you, and you might win or the other person will win. But what happens in the long run is both lose out in the major war. So positivity will bring everything positive to you. So to get positivity, that is why you do the Ganapati Puja when you build a new house, start a new business, because Ganapati represents the Omkar, the first vibration, which makes the whole universe. So when you are doing a Ganpati Puja, what you're actually saying is to the whole universe, I am not fighting with you. I am your friend. I'm not going to hurt you. So be my friend and see that no part of you is an obstacle to me. So this is what you're saying when you say, thy kingdom come, that Lord, whoever it is, whichever name you call God, you say that you know he is in charge. And you say, okay, I will trust you. What happens will happen for the good. Then even if things are difficult, you will find that there is some good in it that is coming to you, and you will learn from it and your trust will be strengthened. Then the next word is, give us this day our daily bread. What is the daily bread? Daily bread is not that I'll have 2 rotis today or 2 dosas tomorrow. What happens if I don't get food tomorrow? What happens to my children? No. When he is saying, give us this day our daily bread, remember this is a God-centered prayer, not a man-centered. He is talking of grace. Grace can happen at any time. When Jesus was in the wilderness, he is tempted. He has a siddhi. He is hungry. He can turn the stones into bread. So the story goes that the devil came and tempted him and said, your father will change the stones into bread. Why don't you make it into bread and eat? It's a temptation for you to use your siddhi to know that I'm capable of doing it. But a siddhi will not last very long. So instead of what did Jesus say? He said, man does not live by bread alone. That not by these stones, not by this, but out of every word that comes from the divine mouth. What is the word? The word is the vibration. If you are positive and you trust, that vibration will bring good things into your life, slowly, slowly. But you cannot use it as a what do you call it, a negotiating deal with God. You can't say, see, I've done so many um, japas, I've done all this, I've fed so many people, therefore you have to come and give me grace. Then we fall out of tune with the whole, because then we think we are, at that point, we are playing God. You cannot buy God with spiritual practices. That is what Shabari uh, knew, because she waited and waited and waited till Rama came. Every day she prayed, and by the time she was 103 or something like that, he came there and she had moksha immediately. So when you say, give us this day our daily bread, we ask for grace, but we also learn to wait with patience, and that patience comes with complete trust. The Kathopanishad will say the self is not known by the study of scripture, subtlety of intellect, or learning. He whom he chooses, he reveals himself to. So who does he choose? He chooses the one who is intimate with him, close to him. Who would you choose if you wanted to give something? Maybe your wife, your friend, closest friend. You don't go out and give it to some stranger you don't even know. It's the same thing. And in this, apart from this prayer, he tells his disciples, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. That is, we have to be watchful. We have to struggle to fix the mind in the divine. And suddenly the grace can happen, because you would not have had this feeling of moving into spiritual life if it was not for grace. Because that is not what people generally think. So grace is already there. Then you say, forgive us our debts, trespasses, as we forgive our debtors. Now, what is the debt that we have? The debts that they are talking about refers to karma. Any thought, any action creates an impression in the mind. Even if you want to live a happy life, or you want to go in for a profession, a career, it always starts with a thought. I want to be an architect, for example. Then you will start seeing buildings around. Then you will see whatever it is necessary, and then you will be refining it all your life without realizing. If you want to be a doctor, for example, you will be drawn to stories of how somebody got healed by somebody else. When you look at a patient, as you grow older, you'll see some deformity, some difficulty that person has, and you might think, I wish I could heal that person. So, this is how every thought, which is a samskara is that impression which is already in your mind because you have gone through many lifetimes. That thought, that action creates an impression in the mind, and that is sowing the seed for similar acts in future. So if you're negative couple of times, you've already sowing that negativity as a seed in your mind. And the next time something good happens, you become negative because you think to yourself, how do I know I can trust so and so? Maybe there's something wrong here. So without your realizing, you sow the seed and you start reaping the fruit of misery. So they say, right in the beginning, teach your children positive values. And right in the beginning, you have to be positive before you teach your child, because the child will be not learning from you, it will be modeling on you. So this is the debt that we owe to the divine, because we that has to be paid off, because we alone are responsible for our obligations, our character. And when we become aware of this, then we don't hold anybody else responsible for what happens to us. We say, oh, maybe I made a misstep. And you don't say that I'm a bad person because I've made this mistake. It just means that this mistake was a disharmony within yourself and it needs to be rectified. Because if you start thinking I'm bad, I'm not good enough, your confidence will go and you'll get stuck with that misery, because that is how the ego comes through the back door and plays with your feelings. Something, anything to keep you limited. So then, daily bread, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now, you wouldn't think that God will lead you into temptation generally. But if you think of it, if you see it, the whole universe is one big Maya. He gives you number of options. It's like Adam and Eve. Adam blamed Eve when he ate the forbidden fruit. Eve blamed the snake. But he gave them the whole of Eden, that they could pick fruits and eat as much as they like. But he said, just don't touch this one. And the serpent came in. That is the mind, the social mind that has been trained. And it says, hey, how do you know that he's not trying to be powerful over you? So why don't you? He must have said it just because he doesn't want you to be as good as he is. Just have a taste. What have you got to lose? Because Eve had that doubt, lack of faith, she bit the apple and they lost the entire Eden. They had nothing to lose if they only stayed away from that apple. So, this is how you say, God, don't lead us into temptation, that let me not get distracted by something else. And in the Hindu tradition, we'd say the whole thing is Maya. So Maya will give you all the beautiful things, but these beautiful things are constantly changing. They are temporary, they are transient, they are not there forever. And then he will give you a concept or a teaching or a teacher or somebody who says certain relationships are permanent. So which would you go for, the permanent one or the temporary one? Because you realize nothing is permanent except that one consciousness. So this is the temptation he will throw you into, so that you will consciously choose the divine over the temporary world. So again, I'm telling you, it doesn't mean that you give up all the happy things that you have, your home, your family. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, bring the divine into your family. Then you won't get angry with anyone in your family. Then you are upset about something and say, God is in that person. Bring the divine into the um, rich food that you're eating. Say that food, the divine is there. That is why I'm so attracted to this food. Slowly, slowly, when you bring the divine into everything, the temporary aspect, the transient aspect of it will not empower you or will not make you fall into a whirlpool of habit. If you have it, you enjoy yourself. If you don't have it, you are still happy because the divine is there. So this is what he is saying. Um, there is this. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. That is, finish your karma gracefully. If you have something to do, some temptation that has come, don't sit and be miserable about it. Something good is also there at the back of it. Finish it and finish it gracefully, not resentfully, because if you are resentful, then that karma sticks to you. That's why Krishna will say in the Gita, hatred binds, love liberates. When something you hate, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, thinking it's catching up with you. Fear and hatred will stay on and on. When you love something, you really let it go free because that thing is with you. So God has conjured up creation, preservation, dissolution through his cosmic power. We fall prey to Maya because of ignorance. That is what when Krishna says in the Gita, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. There is an object. You never saw it before. Say somebody is taking cocaine. You never thought about it. You were not even attracted. But you're passing that person every day, one or two times. Now your sense organs get attracted. Now you start thinking about it. Next is what? Constant thought. What is the constant? I wonder why he's taking it. Wherever you go, you're remembering this person and the way he's snorting. I wonder why he's taking it. Maybe it is very attractive. I don't know. So you're going on thinking about it. Slowly, you get attached to that substance in your mind. When you get attached to that substance in the mind, Krishna says, you become so addicted to it that you don't think about anything else. Now, when you're addicted, you're supposing you're going to a party and somebody gives you a chance and say, hey, have a sniff or whatever you do with it. And you tell yourself, no, I'm not going to. Then somebody says, come on, don't be a nerd. Have a sniff. What will it hurt? Now that cocaine is identified with friendship in our minds. So, and because there is also a little bit of an attraction there, the attachment. So you might think, okay, let me have one puff or whatever. How will it hurt me? Then you take it. Now, because of that, you might have problems. Now, the next time you want it and somebody doesn't give it to you, anger comes about. When anger comes, your mind becomes confused. When your mind becomes confused, you lose discrimination. When you lose discrimination, you miss the entire purpose of life. Samshayatma vinashyati. That's what Krishna says. So you have to work at your own self restraint and realize every time that you are attracted or attached to something that this thing is, I'm attracted to it because this is the divine in this being or in this thing. So if you don't have the divine in this way, you'll have it in another way. You won't get damaged. But if you want the object for the object's sake, then the time you don't get it, you can break down. That is why Krishna says, my Maya, my power of this delusion is difficult to cross. But he who takes refuge in me alone will pass beyond Maya. Simply what they are saying is whatever you are looking at, whatever is attracting you, whatever you're getting misery, bring that form of whichever is the divine in your life, whatever form it takes. Can be a person, it can be Krishna, Allah, can be a tree, can be a mountain, something that is sacred to you. Bring it immediately into your heart, visualize it, and constantly visualize it every time you get an opportunity where you think you're going to get distracted. When you do it again and again, that name becomes hallowed. Hallowed be thy name. Then thy kingdom come. That divine will be inside you. The heaven is inside you. It's not out there. You can make anything into heaven. Then forgive us our temptation as our trespasses as we forgive our debtors. That is, if you say, I'm not going to forgive the other person, then God will say, I'm not going to forgive you. It's not like God is a person, it's a law of dharma. You get what you sow. If you say, I'm not going to forgive so and so, the unforgiveness will come to you. So you'll meet people who will not forgive. You'll find reasons to validate why you need not forgive. On the other hand, and you'll be miserable. But on the other hand, you say, okay, maybe that person made a mistake. Like I make mistakes every now and then. So I'm forgiving myself. I'm not bad because I make my mistakes. So the other person makes a mistake. He's not bad also. He's not out to hurt me, but that's his ignorance. So when you do this again and again and again, you'll find that the lesson has been learned. So you will not have so many karmic debts to clear. Your the impressions will become more and more positive, like you become more merciful, more compassionate, more grateful, more humble about things. You're not trying to fight for something. Supposing, for example, you're ambitious, you will say, should we not go out and be ambitious? And I want to be a CEO of a company. Nothing wrong with it. All they are saying is, what do you want to be a CEO for? Just for yourself, or because that power will give you the capacity to help so many people out there who need to be helped. So if your desire is unpossessive and if it is selfless, then that desire becomes a spiritual quality. So that's all you need to do. And hold on to the pillar. Thine is the kingdom, is realizing that everything in nature has been created by some energy, and that energy is the power there. And it's not my power. I cannot move even two people in my house, leave alone trying to change the universe. So it is somebody else's job. Hand it over to them. And the in India, will you might find children holding on to a pillar and going round and round and round, round the pillar, because that pillar is strong. It won't come off. They're holding it, and however much they go round and round, if they get dizzy, they might sit down for a while, but they will not let go of the pillar. So in the same way, all the mystics tell us prayer is bringing that divine into your heart, and knowing that that divine is there. You will never be left undefended when you have the faith. Hold on to that faith and continue the rest of your life. So that is what prayer is. We have finished the 520. Anyone has any questions, specific questions? This is the Lord's Prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. And sometimes he'll say, don't keep for yourself treasures upon earth where moth and rust will corrupt it, or where thieves can break in and steal. Lay your treasures in heaven, that is within you, is a special something that makes you happy, where neither moth nor rust can corrupt, where thieves cannot come and break. Because where your treasure is, there will your heart be. That's what is said. And where your heart is, you will be happy. So I don't see any questions, so we'll close. Maybe next time I'll talk to you about the Sufi prayer, and you'll see how. Yeah, ask.
Swamiji, I have one question.
Yeah.
Here. So, in the attachment, we do things which we don't mean to. We say things, or we don't do things which we are supposed to do just because of the attachment. How to sort of break this?
You don't need to break it. See, what happens is when you're trying to break it, you are a part of your mind fighting with your own mind, right? Now, when you say, God, if you have some Ishta Devata or a Kula Devata or something, I am handing myself to you. This mind also belongs to you. When you say that, and you say it often enough, say every day, that is what we do when we do Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yat yat sakalam parasmai narayana iti samarpayami. Whatever I do today, maybe good, bad, ugly, stupid, everything I am samarpayami, I'm dedicating to you, I'm giving it to you, because you know best what to do with my mind. So then he will take over, and slowly, slowly, your desire for always being validated, or your desire for somebody always saying nice things to you, someone not being mean to you, all that will slowly, slowly lose relevance in your mind, because this is only a behavior pattern of the mind, wanting a certain individuality. When that goes slowly, and you'll have your own little heaven inside, you'll be happy with what you have. So you don't have to try to get rid of it, because if you're trying to get rid of it, you're fighting, and you can never win with the mind. Mind is very, very powerful. So don't fight, just let God in. That's all you need to do. And trust that he will take care. You know, yeah.
I just want to talk about how that practice we did when we visualized our Ishta Devata.
Yeah.
For me, when I do that, it's more of a feeling than a vision of.
Oh, okay, okay. I understand. Well, God, they say, when you're looking for the divine consciousness, it takes on the form that is near to you, so that you can learn to be intimate with that energy, whatever you call it, that consciousness. Now, that form can be a sound. Say, when you say a mantra, Om, Om, that form can be a picture. You see, say you have a dream and you're constantly visualizing Shiva or Jesus or Mary or something. It can be a form, can happen in meditation, or it can be a feeling also. A feeling is also a form of emotion. So your feeling is just as valid and sometimes more valid because you're moving slowly towards what is formless, because your emotion has a form now as a particular feeling. When that feeling merges into another feeling, then that feeling that you have is refined into being part of the nirgunatvam, the the lack of specific attributes that supreme consciousness has. It is not little attributes. So it's perfectly okay. That also is called a form of the divine. If you say, if you feel love and you're going around helping people, that is the divine acting within you as a feeling. So it doesn't have to be any specific way. We only think it has to be specific because our finite minds are used to structure and reason and logic, and then we think this is what we can see, it has to be like this. But there are deeper things that are not those structures. Because you see, eventually you are that feeling. That is why if you see the poetry of many of the mystics, there are some mystics who will think of God as like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and they'll have a fight. Say, Mira, by fight, you didn't look after me that time, you were looking at somebody else. You find all this in poetry. It just means that this person is becoming more and intimate with the divine. So feeling, there's nothing wrong with the feeling. A feeling is just as valid and sometimes even more valid than seeing an image in your mind. The primordial brain starts first at the limbic system. The limbic system has feelings. Then the brain develops to have thoughts and logic and reason. So, for example, in the old hunting days, the person would go out to hunt for food. If he saw a predator, he would see somebody being eaten up by the predator, then he knows it's dangerous, so he runs back to the cave. Next time he comes out of the cave, his smell will tell him the predator is here or not. Now, what we have done is we've gone so much into technology that we've lost that sense of smell which will guide us and things like that. So, eventually, what happens is we give up certain skill sets that we have had, which have come through the um, through the evolution. So, as the brain has been developing and developing to keep pace with nature, the way we want to conquer and use it, we get the um, cerebral frontal lobes, which are rational and logical. Now, did I start it? Now, when you have this rational aspect, it doesn't let you be guided to your feelings. But supposing you say you've got a toothache, you go to a doctor, and the doctor puts you on the chair, tilts your head, and he looks in. He said, "You've got a cavity. I'm going to drill it now." Immediately you get scared, palpitation comes. Then your uh, brain will talk to you and say, "Hey, it's nothing. Every other person has had um, a drilling that has been done. Maybe it's not also bad." Then you ask the doctor, "Now, what is it all about?" You see, but the first thing that always comes is a feeling, because it's a primordial nature of all creation to start with the what came first, which was a limbic lobe. Fear, anger, happiness, infatuation, all these come before the brain talks to you and say this is sensible, that is not sensible. Discrimination comes later. So what came first will always show itself first. Any other questions, or shall we close?
I just have one more question. When your heart breaks so much over and over again, some people's heart opens up to the divine, but other people's hearts open up to something darker. I mean, I know as a teacher that we're going to be encountering people that maybe aren't dealing with things in a way that is constructive. I mean, I guess that might just be a bigger question, but you know, I've had my heart broken so many times that the minute I visualized or we did that practice, my heart started crying. I felt emotion, but some people, the hearts are so hard after being broken so often that it's a different feeling, I guess.
That's because you're feeling overwhelmed, right? And when you're overwhelmed, the tears will flow because the teary part of your brain is for sadness is very close to the teary part that is happy. So when you're overwhelmed, it's as if the brain says it doesn't matter this or that, and you have the tendency to cry. It happens. It just means that you're being impacted a little more intensely than before. So shall we chant Om? Because I think you might have another class after this. The next, not next Sunday, the Sunday after that, the second Sunday of April, I think, or whenever Devanand gives me the time, I think it's the second. And I'll talk to you about prayer from the Sufi point of view, Islamic point of view. And let's see prayers in different traditions and see what they are talking to us about. The ones that the prophets talked about, not the interpretations of the masses. So sitting quietly, closing your eyes, you are still allowed to write to me either personally or on the WhatsApp group if you want answers to any other doubts you might carry. But just have faith in yourself. We are all here because you've been chosen in a way. So never lose your confidence. Never lose your faith in the grace of your mind. Close your eyes. Bring the Ishta Devata to your heart at the sternum. And we'll chant the Om 3 times, inviting the Ishta Devata to come and sit in the heart, the Chitta. Breathing in. Om. 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 Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mukshiyamamritat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Krishna Arpanamastu. Hari Om Tat Sat. It used to be a thing that said leave. No, that's not here.
Hari Om Swamishi, thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Swamiji.
Most welcome. Hari Om.
Swami.